Chapter 2 Basic Beginnings. Shining Armor sat at his desk, shuffling through papers he didn't really want to read, all of which were reports on parts of the Royal Guard, letting him know of places that could use a guard to watch, recruitment drops, and things training programs didn't cover. Shining sighed and buried his head into his hooves, mentally tired. He had returned from his honeymoon with Cadence to take on this mess, the reconstructing of the Royal Guard, at the suggestion of Celestia. He was horrified to learn the changing Queen Chrysalis had posed as his wife, and even convinced him to distrust his own little sister, then beat Celestia in a duel to Shining Armor's aid. Overall, it was the biggest embarrassment of Shining's career, and the breaking point for the Royal Guard. A knock at the door caused Shining to straighten up. He cleared his throat and said in his best authoritative voice, "Come in." The door gently swung open to reveal a stunning pink alicorn with a purple and yellow mane. She smiled sweetly at Shining and breathed a sigh of relief. Cadence's very image was enough to calm down Shining Armor, even if he was stressed at this. He smiled back to her as she trotted over to him. "Having fun, dear?" she asked sweetly with a hint of playfulness. Shining sighed again and looked back at the stack of papers. "Yeah, loads of it," he said blandly. "This will be the biggest achievement of my career if I can pull this off, but only to erase my biggest failure." Cadence gently nuzzled his neck and said, "Don't worry about it. Chrysalis had you all fooled." "But that's the point," Shining said loudly and startled Cadence. "I was tricked. Celestia was tricked. The whole guard was tricked. We can't let this happen again. We were only lucky the elements and my sister were here to stop her." Cadence put a soft hoof on her husband's back and said, "But we still thwarted her. That means we can still win, even if the guard wasn't expecting it." Shining looked down and Cadence gave him a small smile. "Plus, we have the best captain we could ask for." Comet realized he had been holding his breath as he entered into the gates of Canterlot Castle and let out a deep sigh. Oddly enough, Angel was having the complete reverse problem as she babbled. "Oh my Celestia, this is so cool. That's the Royal Palace, and the gardens, and the moat, and the..." She excitedly listed off. Their escort, the guard from the recruitment station, kept silent and wore a hard face as he led the two ponies over to the left, past the set of Pegasus guards. The two eyed Angel suspiciously, but let her pass without a word. It was indeed unusual for a bat pony to be out during the day, plus the added suspicion of the changeling since the royal wedding. But their spells didn't stop her or cause her to salivate uncontrollably. It seemed the castle grounds were doing just fine at doing that. As the three walked to the Royal Guard training grounds, the escort found it increasingly hard to keep a straight face as Angel continued her rambling. Luckily, Comet saved him. "Are you seriously going to name off every single blade of grass?" he mumbled. "Oh, come on, Comet. You don't think this is cool?" Angel whined, her excitement suddenly dampened. Comet rolled his eyes and said, "We're not a tour group. We're future Royal Guards, and as such, we need to act like it." Angel stuck her tongue at the ground and mumbled, "Party pooper." Comet pretended not to hear it and kept trotting behind the escort, Angel slightly lagging behind, but with large sparkling eyes scanning everything. The trio approached a series of large square buildings and a rather long dirt path that ran into the forest at the edge of the castle grounds. Guard ponies of all sizes were doing random exercises all around the compound. Pegasus ponies were straining to pull large boulders using just their wings, while unicorn guards fired bolts of different colored energy at targets that popped up at irregular intervals. Several Pegasi and unicorn ponies of many different colors did push-ups as a large Pegasus in spectacular guard armor shouted at them. "Hey, why are those ponies not black and white?" Angel said, pointing a hoof at the ponies doing push-ups. Comet clenched his teeth at the question, which was rather insensitive, but the escort answered. "They're recruits, just like you two. When they earn the armor of the guard, spells bound to the armor force the pearl colors to become either white or black." Comet raised an eyebrow, but Angel nodded. Soon the two were standing in the barracks. It amazed Angel, who, of course, was promptly rifling through anything that didn't have a lock on it, but Comet stood resolutely still next to the escort in stark contrast. The guard finally let out a smile and removed his helmet. "You know, I did see what happened in that recruitment building," he said with a slight chuckle. Comet felt his stomach drop, and the guard watched Angel with a smile. "She is a feisty one, that pony. I'm not shocked in the least you like her," he said, and Comet felt a shudder run through his spine. "I am most definitely not interested in her," Comet replied quickly, giving the guard another reason to chuckle. "You can say that, but you cannot deny instinct. She's cute and obviously single, so you better claim her before some pony else does." Comet didn't really reply to that, opting for the stoic guard stare instead. The guard sighed and put his helmet back on and called Angel over. She ran back, excitedly explaining to Comet about the monotonous green-gray colors, the nearly plywood tough beds, and the views from the windows. The guard cleared his throat and said, "All right, recruits. This will be your new home for the next 4 months. Basic training is not easy, but it will forge you into fine guards if you cooperate. Hopefully, next time I see either of you, I'll be saluting you." Angel gave him an impromptu hug and thanked him, causing him to give a grin. She scampered away after yelling, "Top bunk is mine, Comet!" and the guard gave him a wink. "Remember what I told you, soldier. Claim her or lose her." At that, the guard saluted Comet, who returned it, and left the 2 ponies alone. Comet remained in the exact same spot, unsure of what to think. The guard had evidently known next to nothing about him, thinking he had any interest in that screwy bat pony. She had every trait he loathed, and then some. She was loud, childish, and an expert at annoying him. Granted, it wasn't like he wasn't into mares at all. Spitfire was probably the cutest mare he knew of, but he had also seen pictures of the Elements of Harmony wielders. The purple unicorn was supposed to be Princess Celestia's personal protege, and as such, she had ought to be smart, something Comet really liked in mares. She also had a very pretty purple mane with a pink stripe, a very modern style Comet also liked. All in all, he had thought the purple unicorn was the ideal personality of the mare he wanted, while Spitfire had the body. That was when he felt a pair of eyes on him. Swiftly turning his head, he noticed Angel was giving him a smug look, and he felt his cheeks flush. "Can I help you?" he said in his best annoyed voice. Angel scrunched up her nose and stared directly into his eyes with her slit pupils. "What were you thinking of?" she asked a little too innocently. Comet scrunched up his face as well, but his expression was more like there was a foul odor in the room. "It's none of your business," he stated, emphasizing the word your. "I think I know what it was," Angel said in her smug voice. "I highly doubt you do," Comet replied. "Ooh, I bet I do," Angel said. "Oh, I bet you don't," Comet argued. "I bet it was a mare," Angel cooed. Comet felt his eyes retract and his face flush, forcing him to turn away from her. Angel, for her part, squealed in excitement and said, "Ooh, it is! It is! Who is it? Princess Celestia? Princess Luna? Ooh, tell me! Comet adamantly refused to answer, and Angel kept rattling off names, hoping he would get a reaction again. Finally, she said, "Oh, wait. Is it me?" Comet froze at that and turned around. His face was as red as his eyes, mostly due to Angel saying Spitfire at some point, but he was also just annoyed with her. She had said that earlier in the day, that even the guard was in agreement. He was not interested in Angel. "Stop asking me," was all he managed to say without shouting at her. He turned tail to her and marched over to the bunk beds he and Angel were supposed to share, leaving her speechless. Angel, of course, completely misinterpreted his words and began to blush herself. "He does like me," she whispered to herself. She felt a huge surge of energy from her excitement and ran to tackle Comet in a hug. She did and rolled him onto the floor, eventually stopping right on top of him. Comet lay on his stomach and wore a very annoyed face as Angel resumed her signature, laughing. These next 4 months were going to be the most difficult of his life. Several hard-fought minutes later, Comet was unpacking his saddlebags and storing a collection of odd items in the footlocker at the base of his bed, while Angel peeked down on him from the top bunk. "What's that?" she asked. Comet was holding a book in his teeth and set it gently into the locker. "Combat Techniques of the Marengeti," he said flatly, knowing Angel wouldn't be interested. It was actually a journal he kept for his mother, who thought it would help him open up and make some more friends. Boring, Angel lamented. Do you read the Daring Do series? That's a good book. Action, adventure, danger, ancient relics, romance. She sighed happily, turning over on the bed and staring at the ceiling. Daring Do was so completely cool, thwarting ancient traps and putting amazing relics into museums while dodging a number of enemies. Comet thought the series was for children. Who could rightfully expect to go on some grandiose adventure every week and not require more bits than Celestia and an amazing doctor? Comet preferred to stay grounded to reality through biographies and history books. While Angel was lost in her fantasies of Daring Do, Comet seized the opportunity to place several photographs into the locker. The topmost was a picture of a wonderfully green mare with sparkling magenta eyes, and a tall yellow Pegasus smiling at the camera. His parents, Mangrove and Sunstorm, gave him the photo when he left San Francisco, causing him to choke up. He missed his mother, the wonderful mare, but he had to start his own life. His father had reserves about him joining the Guard, but allowed his son to make his own decisions. "Who are those ponies?" came a familiar voice from Angel from behind him. Startled, Comet tried to slam shut the footlocker, but his wing got in the way. He shouted in pain and wrenched his wing loose, tripping over Angel, who crouched behind him, and sprawling on his back. His head smacked the legs of the bunk bed on the other side of the barracks, making his forehead lance in pain. He curled up, wincing as his head throbbed, and the pony cleared his throat rather loudly. Comet opened his eye to see a stern-looking guard glaring down at him. Well, so much for good first impressions.